Hello and welcome. You're watching To The Point. 4 churches in a convent have been attacked in just 45 days. This has happened at a time when organizations connected with the Sangh Parivar have promised to convert thousands of Christians and called for a trial of strength between Christianity and Hinduism. So how does the church respond to what's happening? In part 2, I shall interview the Archbishop of Delhi, Anil Kuto. But first, 24 hours have passed since Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi was convicted and sentenced to 1 year in jail. Even though this will not disqualify him as an MP, should he not have resigned from the Council of Ministers? In part 1, we ask, is there a moral or proprietary responsibility on ministers to step aside when they are convicted and sentenced to jail? Joining me now to discuss whether Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi should resign or not is BJP spokesperson Sambit Patra, Congress spokesperson Rita Bahuguna Joshi, the well-known Asian Age columnist Ashok Malik, and the chairman of APCA, Badshah Sen. Sambit Patra, it's 24 hours since Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi was convicted and sentenced to a year in jail. Should he not have resigned from the government by now? Or do you believe it's acceptable for a convict to continue as a minister?
No, on both the counts. First, on the legal count, he should not resign, nor is he convicted for more than 2 years that he would be disqualified. And secondly, as far as the moral count is concerned, it is a political right in a democratic country to have peaceful protest and peaceful assembly. It was a peaceful protest. Even if you go into the legal proceedings, you will find that the court does not say that it was not a peaceful protest. Secondly, if you would remember, today itself, Mr. Soli Sorabji, an eminent jurist of the country, has said, after hearing this whole case, after going through the whole case, he has said that this is a judicial overreach. Though I would not react, but it is what Mr. Soli Sorabji, a very eminent jurist, and others are the opinion that this was judicial overreach. It was just breaching of section 144. Mr. Naqvi was returning from a point.
Let's not go into what Mr. Naqvi was doing. Answer my question. You're saying there is no need for him to resign. Is that a correct understanding of your answer?
I see there is no reason to resign if Mr. Naqvi was rightly fighting for the people's cause.
Just a moment. Let's not start questioning the court. Let's just stick to the subject. You're saying there's no need for Mr. Naqvi to resign. Fine, that's your position. Badshah Sen, let me in a sense put the opposite to you. The law only disqualifies an MP if he's sentenced to more than 2 years imprisonment. That doesn't apply to Mr. Naqvi, so he's not disqualified as an MP. And therefore, if he can be an MP, he has a right to be a minister. And therefore, there's no need for him to resign. How do you respond to that line of argument?
Well, actually, I don't think there's any need for him to resign because, as Sambit correctly pointed out, technically, he has to be a 2-year sentence before a disqualification clause is invoked. So that hasn't happened. Secondly, therefore, he also has the right to appeal. It being less than 2 years, he can appeal and continue as an MP as well as a minister. However, I would just like to correct Sambit Patra on one point. It wasn't just breaking section 144. The team wrongfully confined. There were 3 counts on which the conviction has happened.
Just a moment.
There's 143.
Badshah Sen, I don't want to go into the details of the case. That's irrelevant. The question I'm asking is a different one. Should a man who's convicted continue in office? You're saying to me there's no need for him to resign despite the fact he's a convict.
Technically, there is no need for him to resign. Even morally, I would assume that he has been given a chance to defend himself on appeal before this happens. It's not such a heinous crime, or nor is it a crime of enormous corruption that would suggest that he should resign. That's what I think.
Ashok Malik, I'm not talking about Mr. Naqvi having to resign from being an MP. Instead, I'm talking about the propriety and morality of a man who's been sentenced to jail, who is therefore a convict, continuing as a government minister. Let me ask you, do you believe there's a moral need for a man who's become a convict to step down from government?
Well, if he had been convicted for theft or murder or some sort of serious crime, then yes, certainly his resignation would have been called for. But to be convicted, I'm not going into the whether the charges are flimsy or not. That's Sambit and the others have answered that already. If he is convicted for what is essentially a political protest, I don't think it's incumbent upon him to resign. In fact, if we take a strict, over-strict understanding of this clause, half our parliament and half our state legislators would be emptied out.
Well, just a moment. You seem to be drawing a distinction between different types of convicts. You're saying some types of convicts need to resign, others don't.
I always have between political agitation and serious crime.
Except that when a court has found you guilty of breach of the law and sentenced you to jail, surely all convicts become the same.
No, they are not the same, because a breach of the law carried out by undertaking a peaceful political protest or a broadly peaceful political protest or demonstration is not the same as a serious crime. Prakash Karath, who's by all accounts a very good man and an upright man, also faces criminal charges precisely because our laws are so ridiculous.
Let me bring you to that point, Rita Bahuguna Joshi. Where does the Congress stand on this matter? Yesterday, at your official daily press conference, when he was asked, Abhishek Singhvi simply ducked the question. But Manish Tiwari, a former Minister for Information and Broadcasting, has publicly said that the morality and propriety of the situation demands that Mr. Naqvi step aside. So I ask you, what is your party's formal position?
Well, see, there are two aspects to this. I agree with the panelists, it's not a heinous crime. I agree with them that legally he doesn't need to resign. But there has always been moral standards in politics, and we've had cases when the individual decides how he would like to proceed in such a situation. Whether conviction is not an issue on which he should morally resign and set a good example, because see, he has breached Section 144, he got out of Thana, and he was also, I think the group of people with him, they've also been charged with writing, and a large number of amongst them have been convicted. So we feel that it's an issue which requires an individual decision and for the Prime Minister to take a call on this. But if you talk legally, I don't think we are demanding or we can say that he should resign.
And if you talk morally, what happens if you talk morally?
He is not convicted. It's a situation of moral standards, and I think it's for him to take a call. And he should realize what the people of the country want. We stand by what we say.
Okay.
The party stand is very clear that on such issues, it varies from an individual to individual. And it's Mr. Naqvi and for the Prime Minister, who wants to set moral standards, who talks about propriety in public life, who talks about transparency, who talks about upholding the law. So he has to decide whether a court, a responsible court, that has convicted a person, what decision, that's the decision of the Prime Minister and the Minister.
Let me bring in Sambit Patra. Sambit Patra, the key issue is not a legal issue. I accept that. Everyone on the panel accepts it. I also accept, and everyone on the panel accepts, that an MP is not disqualified unless he's sentenced for 2 years or more. That doesn't apply either. In this circumstance, the key issue is an issue of morality, it's an issue of propriety. And I want to put this to you. The BJP calls itself a party with a difference. That difference, if it is anything, is a moral difference. Therefore, should you not set higher standards and observe higher standards than others? And don't those higher standards demand that Mr. Naqvi, for the good of the name of the party and for the higher morality you aspire to, step aside?
No, Karan, I would see it in a very different way. What you call as morality and what you question in Mr. Mukhtar Naqvi Abbas, or what you question in the politicians who break sometimes the Section 144, I would say if it is done in a peaceful manner, then it is a political right. I mean, even if we may be a political party with difference, but I would say every political person on this earth has a common feature, and the common feature is to fight for justice of people, to fight for the cause of people. Or else, if we confine ourselves to the closets of our house, then we'll have only Sonia Gandhi and Manmohan Singh type of politician in this country.
Except that he wasn't fighting for the people. He was protesting against the seizure of a BJP vehicle. He was therefore, at best, fighting for the interests of his
No,
party,
I'll
but
tell
of the
you.
people. And secondly, he was defying prohibitory orders. He's been found guilty of that.
No,
He's
no.
been, as a result, sentenced. And I come back. He's now a convict in the eyes of the law. Should a convict, for moral reasons, be a minister in the government of India?
No, you have to understand. I mean, if I'm allowed to explain in the simplest of words, the difference between being convicted for breaching Section 144 in a peaceful way and the convict for other heinous crimes is like if you murder someone, you are a convict. If you jump the red light, even then you are fined and you are a convict. But both the convicts
You are a
stand
convict. The
differently.
second, you're convicted. Don't try and play around with the English
No,
language
no,
to
no,
your
I'm
own
answering it
detriment.
outrightly. I'm saying peaceful demonstration for the cause
He's
of
still a
people
convict,
is-
regardless of what the reason
no.
behind the conviction was. He's a convict, and my question is a simple one. Should a convict,
Mr.
and I
Thakur.
keep repeating that word, should a convict be a minister in the government of India?
No, if Karan, if this were the case, then the 1977 government of India would not have been formed because most of the ministers, including George Fernandez
right.
and all, had cases against them.
So what you're saying to me, the so-called difference that BJP claims is actually the same as any other party or no different. You go by the precedents and standards
Not at
set by
all.
your rivals. They
Other
determine how you behave and they determine your morality. Let
Not
me
at
bring
all.
in Bacha Sen. There's an argument being made by Sambit Patra, and I want to put it to you. And what he's basically suggesting is that there's a differentiation that you can make between convicts. Those who are convicted of murder, violence, corruption cannot be ministers, but those who are convicted for other offences, provided the length of sentence is not more than 2 years, can continue. Do you buy that line? Because at the end of the day, in the eyes of the law, a convict is a convict is a convict. The law does not distinguish between the reasons behind the conviction. So is it fitting for a convict to be a minister?
Karan, I presume that by convict you mean someone who has been sentenced to a term in prison.
Which is what the word
If you are
means.
sentenced with just a fine, yes, that's right. If you are sentenced with a fine, then it takes on an altogether different hue. I've checked, I'm not a lawyer.
But this
I've
man
checked those
is
three
sentenced
clauses
with
under
a
which he was-
one-year jail sentence.
Exactly. The point remains is that 1 year jail sentence was the maximum punishment for this crime. There were, at the minimum end, there were just fines.
So it's
Had the judge decided in his
So
wisdom
you're
to just
saying-
fine
you're
them,
say- well,
so the point remains...
The point
No,
is
no,
this.
I'm just going to that.
No,
If
no,
he
the
goes
point
on-
is this. The
if he
judge
goes
has
on appeal-
decided to give him a one-year sentence. Is it okay
Sure.
for a man with a one-year
Sure.
sentence to be a minister?
Technically, yes. Morally, no. Or as long as if he goes on appeal...
Explain
and
the
judge
moral
overturns
argument.
this and says,
Explain
okay,
the moral argument, because
moral
we all
argument-
accept the technical
the
one.
moral argument... The moral argument, you have to be Caesar's wife. I'm sorry to use a cliche like that, but you have to be Caesar's wife. However, I just want to add a caveat. If Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi had just been fined, there are fines for each of
Yeah,
these.
but let's not come up with an
it is
if that's
either
hypothetical.
Or both.
Bacha Sen, don't come up
Okay,
with an
so
if that's
if he is-
hypothetical. He hasn't just been
All right,
fined, he's
Karan,
been sentenced.
All right, Karan, you have pinned me down. Okay, fine. If it's a question of morality, if it's a question of Caesar's wife, then I presume he should resign. However, he is not me, he is not you. He can still stand and say, I won't resign, and there's precious little you can do about it.
Absolutely. I'm not saying that we can do anything about it. I'm talking about the morality. You're saying to me that it is fitting for a minister on moral grounds to resign when he is sentenced to 1 year in jail. Have I understood that correctly? On moral grounds, he should resign.
Yes.
And if he doesn't resign, then does he cast some sort of aspersion on the government, its character, as well as perhaps the nature of our democracy as a whole?
Karan, can I have a second?
Yes, but let
taking it
Bacha
very-
answer that first.
We are taking this, it will tarnish to some extent, it will. People will question the fact that this guy who's been convicted for a year in jail has not resigned. He's morally duty bound to do so. So I presume
can I
it will
answer?
affect.
In
to
a
some
moment, I'll
extent
come back to you,
the image
Sambit.
of
Don't
the
worry.
image.
Ashok
It will
Malik,
affect the image of this government, yes, sure.
Ashok Malik, you were arguing that there is no real moral reason for him to resign. Now, let me put this to you. Mr. Modi, the Prime Minister, talks of accountability and transparency. He talks of how the government has to set an example to the country. If Mr. Naqvi continues as a minister despite being a convict, and I'm deliberately and repeatedly using that phrase, then can Mr. Modi hold a mirror up to his own government without squirming with discomfiture? Because when he holds up that mirror, what he'll see is a convict sitting, and that convict's presence will undermine the promise of accountability, transparency, and leave aside the whole question of setting an example to the country.
Karan, you're quite right. Technically, Mr. Naqvi is a convict today who's out on bail. However, at the cost of repeating myself, I think Mr. Modi will weigh the nature of his supposed or so-called crime, which is taking part in a largely peaceful political demonstration, which every politician in India is bound to do and does do, as opposed to theft or dacoity or burglary or murder or a crime of that nature, or corruption, which is a serious crime of another order. To accept that Mr. Naqvi has a moral responsibility and should be exiled from politics because of this is actually to set a very dangerous precedent, because our lower courts, with due respect, sometimes tend to get influenced and carried away. I'm not suggesting this one has. And this could set an interesting precedent where state governments across India could be helping frame political rivals. I'm not suggesting that's happened here. And push inconvenient rivals out of politics.
Can I put something to you?
I think we should be careful about what we demand.
Can I put something to you? Your answer, first of all, has a very substantial element of disrespect for lower courts. You're virtually dismissing them on the grounds that they can be manipulated, or that they come up with exaggerated and unwarranted sentences.
I'm not dismissing the law. I'm dismissing the process by which law is administered in our country. I'm casting some doubts about that, yes.
The second thing is, beyond the doubts you're casting on the lower courts, let's leave that aside, you're also saying it would be wrong to exile Mr. Naqvi. But I'm not talking about exile. I'm simply saying that for the duration of this period, until he wins an appeal, if he does, he should set a moral example and step aside, because he's a convict. Because it looks wrong for a man who's been sentenced to jail to be a minister, because it undermines the credibility of Mr. Mr. Modi's promise of accountability and transparency. Don't you think all those reasons are more important than the political career of an individual who's become a convict?
Because he led a political demonstration which local chief magistrate did not like. Which will his appeal will then be heard by a sessions or district judge, and then presumably by the High Court and then the Supreme Court. Many years could pass. His career could be ruined because of what even Mr. Sarabji describes as gross.
Oh, we've lost Ashok Malik at that point. Let me bring you in, Rita Bhagna Joshi. You said that this was an issue to be left to the individual himself to decide. But you also accept that there is a very substantial moral element to it. And you've heard Bacha Sen say that the continuation could cast an aspersion on both Mr. Modi's promise of accountability and the standing of our democracy. So I come back. What's more important to the Indian people and the Indian political system? The good name of our government and our democracy, or the fact that an individual on technical grounds is not required to resign because the sentence is less than 2 years and therefore he can continue? Which is more important, the technical reason for survival in government, or the good name of Indian democracy, which is at stake if he continues as a minister?
Look, the entire argument which I've heard just now is that we have a democratic right to demonstrate. Now the situations are different. If the elections are not on, if the election process is not on, then it presents a different position and situation. But you see, when the elections are on, and the elections in India are becoming more and more violent, and the election which about 20 years back would be conducted in one day in a state takes about 12, 13, 14 days to complete, and in a state like UP it takes about 1 month.
Mr. Naqvi in some way.
So the question is that during elections, the Election Commission has a code of conduct, and the administration has to enforce law and order. Now, vehicles are, caught by the police, and we have a system of getting them back. If a vehicle was seized, it does not require a demonstration of a sort that happened. And if it has happened, I'm saying, it's not a crime against society.
Rita Bhagna Joshi, come to the point whether this requires the man to step aside on moral grounds. Don't confuse me with detail. Come to the central point. Should there be a clear-cut moral requirement, yes or no?
On this issue, I'm saying the political party and its leaders have to decide. I would say it's not a crime against society. But you have to decide how far you can allow your responsible leaders to go. And if there is a conviction, what stand would you like to take? Because there are instances when a train
I take your point. You're leaving it to the individual to decide. As a party, you do not want to pronounce what he should do.
People don't resign.
You know, Sambit Patra, it's a very interesting situation. My panel today do not believe that there is an overriding moral or proprietary requirement for Mr. Naqvi to step aside, although at times Badshah Sen comes close to saying it, but then he argues that on technical grounds there is no requirement either. And I put something to you like this. In a country like England or America, it would be inconceivable for any man or woman to continue in government if he or she had been sentenced to jail, not just for a year, but even for a day. It would be inconceivable because the good name of their democracy in government would take precedence over any technical argument that ensures the longevity of the individual. Why is that higher level of morality something we in India can't be capable of? Why do we have to find technical reasons for saying, oh, he's a convict on technical reasons, let him stay? The point is he's a convict and his continuation does damage to the government and it does damage to our democracy.
Karan, you give examples of US and England. I would say in both US or England or in the European countries, it would be blasphemous to think that people have to come on the streets to fight for their rights. There we know for basic needs, no one has go to the streets. The countries are developed countries. And ironically, in India, political parties definitely...
He wasn't fighting for basic
Allow me,
rights.
you allowed everyone. Please don't interrupt, Karan. Allow me a complete sentence and then you can definitely ask a second question.
Political demonstrations happen all over the world.
In our country, definitely all the political parties have to take to peaceful protest. Secondly, you have often used the words technicality and morality today. I firmly believe that technicality stands, morality stands by technicality, in the sense that if the lawmakers of the country believed that only those members of parliament should be robbed of their positions, the ones who are convicted for at least 2 years or more, meant this to say that the ones who were convicted below that, the ones who were convicted by a sentence below that, were for petty issues and should best be left untouched.
All right, I like the use of that word, robbed of their positions. You certainly have a moral way of indicating how you don't believe that they should be made to give up office, robbed of them. Let me end with you, Badshah Sen. I want to put this to you. Even if the law technically permits Mr. Naqvi to continue, does his continuation as a convict in government not diminish our democracy?
Well, to a certain extent, but Karan, I must point out, I never resort to the word but this time I have to. There has to be a distinction, even on moral grounds, between one type of misdemeanor crime, whatever you want to call it, and another. I mean, for instance, I'll go back. If you steal because you want to lead a good life, that's fine. But if you steal to feed a starving child, I'm sorry to use this, is that person who's stolen to feed his or her starving child morally bound to go to jail? I don't think so. I think there is a distinction in this.
Judges do end up jailing. It's the length of sentence they get that might get affected by the reasoning you're giving. The conviction would happen nonetheless. No judge would turn around and say, because you have a morally valid excuse for stealing, therefore I won't convict you for theft. He'd simply lower the sentence as a result. And what I'm pointing out here is once you're convicted, regardless of the sentence, should a convict blemish our government and our democracy by continuing in office? But clearly, I'm a lonely voice asking awkward questions. These are not finding any resonance with my panel. My politicians believe that, in fact, politicians like them can continue. It's up to the individual to decide, and it seems my journalists share that thought as well. So it's time for me to end this particular discussion. Thank my guests for joining me and leave the audience to answer that moral question. Does India's democracy, does the good name of our government require, regardless of technical qualifications and conditions, that when a man is convicted and sentenced to jail, he must step down morally and for reasons of propriety? Or is it okay for him to find technical excuses to continue? That's an issue you need to decide.